Hey, what's up, everybody? I am Maxwell Faulkner, and welcome into a real Falking Sports podcast. To lead off this segment, I got to lead it off by saying I am so damn tired of the NBA. I'm tired of it. They are so exhausting to watch, read about, and listen to. Am I right? First things first. The NBA is not basketball. It used to be the best basketball players competing against each other in order to achieve a common goal, which was winning the NBA Finals. But it's not about that anymore, is it? It's all about money, their stat line, and jersey and shoe sales, which relates back to money. The players honestly don't care if their team is doing well or not, just as long as they individually perform at a satisfying level that will allow them to make more money from China. Oops. Did I say that too loud? We'll get back to that in a moment. But the NBA is not basketball. It's an individualized, I'm getting mine mentality-based game. It's not a team sport anymore. Once these guys make it to the NBA, it's all about themselves. And it's not about the team. Now, I'm not saying these guys aren't the best basketball players in the world. They are. No country can compete against their size, strength, and speed because we have the best training facilities in the world, along with the best coaches and trainers in the sport. And that's a fact. I just wish they would play actual basketball again. Remember real basketball in the NBA? When teams would move the ball around to get an open shot rather than pull up from half court for a three-pointer 15 times a game. They used to play defense before they added the defensive 3 seconds rule, which pretty much means you can't play help side defense. Players seek their stat totals more than their team succeeding. And NBA executives want to see games 150 to 148, which is not basketball, because that clearly shows no one is playing defense in order to boost offensive stat totals. Oh, and don't give me that, oh, the offense evolved, man. Get with it, dude. Get with it. That's a load of shit. If the offense evolved into this dominating new style of basketball, the defense would have evolved with it as well, because it's part of the game. But since the NBA executives and Commissioner Adam Silver don't want players playing defense and only focus on the offensive part of the game, that means it isn't basketball anymore, but rather players showing the world that they can shoot 40 shots per game and make half of them. And now players aren't even focused on the game anymore. Have we all noticed this? They are focused on politics and pushing their liberal opinions to the world because the people who watch the NBA don't watch the news. Oh, no. They want to listen to LeBron James, Stephen Curry, Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, and whoever the hell else is in the NBA talk to them on how the world should work. Hence why I had to write this segment and why I personally believe the NBA is a far-left propaganda tool. In case we are not aware, the NBA is a far-left, insanely liberal league. They always speak on liberal talking points, but never allow the conservative view. Oh, here comes the liberal fans of the NBA who don't know what a conservative view is because they only listen to the far-left activists on TikTok yelling that conservatives are Nazis. The NBA is one-sided, and that is why their viewership has gone down. It's almost like all the players and coaches are purposely trying to pander only to liberal viewers by stating their far-left opinions in press conferences and never stating actual facts, but rather their liberal opinions on how the world should work in order to exclude the conservative viewers. Oh, and also because they need to impress their highest-rated fans, which is communist China. Oops. Oh, geez, did I say that again? I don't care. Here we go. Speaking of viewership, did we all know that 75% of NBA viewership is located outside of the United States? An American association isn't popular amongst the country they play in, but rather overseas. Can you believe that? Over 75% of NBA social media followers are also outside of the United States. Hundreds of millions of viewers come from China. Here, listen to this stat from last year's NBA Finals between the Indiana Pacers and Oklahoma City Thunder. In America, the 2025 Finals averaged 10.2 million viewers per game and had a total of about 75 million viewers throughout the series. Wait till you hear this. Overseas had over 5 billion viewers, including 425 million from China. Wow. So the NBA is clearly making most of its viewership money from China. And then you hear NBA players and coaches screaming liberal talking points constantly. So is the NBA playing for Americans or communist China? For those of you who aren't convinced that the NBA is a liberal propaganda tool funded by communist China, oops, oh, geez, did I say that again? Sorry. Let's have a discussion about this. I can literally name on one hand only 4 instances where there was a player who had a conservative viewpoint and it was somewhat mentioned in the media. First is, of course, Michael Jordan. Back in 1990, when he was asked if he would endorse Democratic candidate Harvey Gantt in the North Carolina Senate race, Jordan said his focus is on basketball, not politics. That he's a basketball player, not an activist. Jordan's famous quote was, "Republicans wear sneakers too." What happened to players like Michael Jordan, who played for all fans, no matter their political views? You are all basketball players, right? And yet, the NBA promotes activism more than just focusing on the game. The second conservative viewpoint in the NBA was Enes Kanter Freedom when he decided to use his platform to call out the Chinese Communist Party for their human rights abuses. Kanter condemned the Chinese Communist Party over genocide of Uyghur Muslims, and he pushed for the independence and human rights of Tibet and Hong Kong. Kanter even started criticizing fellow NBA players for not speaking out against the Chinese Communist Party for making their shoes and jerseys in Chinese sweatshops. Why wouldn't the NBA take a stand since they are supposed to be so humane and promote activism? Oh, maybe it's because they are basically funded by the Chinese Communist Party. The NBA relies on China. Every year, China produces $5 billion from forced labor, making shoes, jerseys, and of course their viewership. And team owners make $10 billion in investments from China. LeBron James, you love to speak out on how President Trump is bad for our country, but why not speak out about how China is abusing their own people to make your shoes and jerseys, huh? Oh, duh. It's because you make $32 million a year from China. No wonder you won't retire from the NBA. You're worth $1.3 billion, huh? Sounds like China has your balls deep fried in an egg roll, ready to munch if you ever disobeyed their every need. Kanter was later blacklisted from the NBA because China would not air games when he played. More on this topic would be when ex-Houston Rockets general manager Daryl Morey tweeted, "Fight for freedom, stand with Hong Kong." The Chinese Communist Party demonstrated that it had the ability to influence the NBA when they banned broadcast in 2019 because of Daryl Morey's pro-Hong Kong tweet. Morey was pushing for pro-democracy in China compared to communism. Chinese companies immediately suspended ties with the Houston Rockets, leading to lost sponsorships, blackouts of NBA games in China, and ultimately hundreds of millions of dollars. Morey then resigned in 2020. What a coincidence that a man who is standing up for democracy, who lived in America, resigned because the country that is funding the NBA doesn't like the way we do things here, which is something we all call freedom of speech. And we all know that they don't have that in communist China. The last conservative in the NBA I can remember was Jonathan Isaac when he decided that his Christian faith and love for his country was far more important than activism during the George Floyd protest. If we remember, every single NBA player, except for Jonathan Isaac, kneeled before the national anthem, Jonathan Isaac basically said, nah, I love my country, and I'm blessed to live in a country that allows me to play basketball for a living, to provide for my family and community. I'm going to stand every time I touch this floor, and you lost souls bowing down should get used to wearing knee pads since communist China owns you. Now, okay, Jonathan Isaac didn't say that, or I said that, but it's true. It's true. Get used to wearing knee pads, NBA. Recently, the NBA has been coming out and stating that ICE needs to be abolished. They shouted from the rooftops that Renee Good was murdered by ICE, forgetting that multiple videos are out for everyone to see where she decided to ram her car into the officer before he shot her. But, Doc Rivers said it was straight up murder. And you all know that Steve Kerr has to join in on this.
No, what happened in Minnesota was a straight up murder, in my opinion.
Well, I'm glad that the Timberwolves, recognized, her life and the tragic nature of her death, and it's shameful, really, that in our country we can have law enforcement officers who commit murder and seemingly get away with it.
Recently, a Border Patrol agent shot Alex Preddy when he got physical with law enforcement and had a gun on him, which is a felony. You can't get physical with law enforcement and also have a gun handy. How stupid can you be, man? Of course law enforcement is going to think that you were a threat. A week before this shooting, Alex Preddy spit on agents, then kicked their car, breaking their taillight, and then resisted arrest when he committed those crimes. But, going back to the NBA had to step up and spread their left-wing everything is Trump's fault bullshit rants. Here's a quick montage of the NBA spreading liberal propaganda in order to appease the Chinese Communist Party. Oops, sorry, did I say that again?
It's shameful that the government can come out and lie about what happened when there's video and witnesses who have all come out and disputed what the government is saying. So,
the whole ICE thing it's a travesty. It's clearly, to me, we're attacking brown people, and I just happen to be brown.
The loss of Renee Nicole Good. Our thoughts are with her family and everyone affected, and our hearts are with our community as we hope for healing and unity during this challenging time.
It's shameful, really, that in our country we can have law enforcement officers who commit murder and seemingly get away with it.
I even saw the little kid that was by himself. I don't know the full thing, but I saw the little kid that was by his or herself. What about the human side of that? That's a child by itself, no parent.
And come around the world.
All the way down, it was 3 straight hours. Negative 10-degree weather. It was beautiful to see that turnout. It speaks to how important people felt to have the voice heard, and those elements.
No, what happened in Minnesota was a straight up murder, in my opinion, and it's awful. This lady was probably trying to go home, and she didn't make it home, and that's really sad. So,
Target Center, we are heartbroken by the tragic loss of Alex Preddy that occurred yesterday in Minneapolis. We extend our love and support and heartfelt sympathies to Alex's family, friends, and our community during this difficult time.
Every day I wake up and see the news and I'm horrified. I think that it's crazy that some people might make it seem like, or make it sound like it's acceptable. The murder of civilians is acceptable,
I have family who came to this country, right? You know what I mean? And they fear for their lives. They fear, and they're legal citizens. They fear. And I don't know the whole situation of the people that got murdered, but I do know that it's BS.
A much better solution, immigration. It's not like they're rooting out violent criminals. They're taking 5-year-old kindergartners.
I keep thinking about kids, and when I grew up, the president was always the role model. And I think about that and the effect of being a bully, lying. How is that good for our kids? And that worries me for our future.
Interesting. I don't remember moments of silence in the NBA for Laken Riley, Rachel Morin, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungary, Larisha Thompson, Dara Thompson, Megan Boss, Maria Plites and her daughter when they all were sexually assaulted and murdered by illegal immigrants. Oh, or how about Charlie Kirk? No, we can't talk about Charlie Kirk. No. Our left-wing activists and illegal immigrants are far more important than the actual women citizens of our country who were murdered. What a bunch of dicks. You know what's interesting, though? Billionaire Naval Roy Singham is under investigation for funding anti-ICE protests and promoting Chinese propaganda and left-wing causes while living in Shanghai, China. He has put money towards protests in Minnesota. Interesting, right? So this billionaire communist lives in China, is affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP is once again affiliated with the NBA, and now NBA coaches and players are calling out federal law enforcement for doing their jobs? Huh. Sounds like maybe he and the CCP might be handing these players and coaches a script and a paycheck to speak these communist views. Let's all think about that let that soak in. Think about it for a moment, and then we'll move on. Just think about that. So why else is the NBA a far-left propaganda tool? Well, the NBA also pushes for the LGBTQ plus community agenda by having multiple Pride nights a year. Why? Why would you dedicate nights where you celebrate someone's sexual preference, NBA? You NBA players don't find that weird at all, huh? You're just all on board with this while wearing rainbow-colored logos on your jerseys? Huh. Well, whatever pays for your mansions and sports cars, huh? Yeah, I guess so. The NBA also continues to push for racial justice and civil rights. NBA, did we forget that 78 to 80.9% of the league is black? How is that supporting civil rights? Do you mean civil rights for any other race other than black people in the NBA, which is 19.1%? Of course not. Speaking of which, since you players believe cops just pull over black people based on the color of their skin and not because they broke the law, maybe instead of teaching kids to be hostile and create an unsafe environment when breaking the law, you teach the youth on how to communicate with a police officer politely, such as turn off your car, hand the officer your ID, and say, "Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Sorry, sir. Sorry, ma'am." That can bring down those racial justice rates by like 1,000%. Oh, I did notice that Steve Kerr always brings up gun control. Why are you talking to the media about that, Steve Kerr? Shouldn't you discuss that to your players in the locker rooms? No guns in the locker rooms, Gilbert Arenas. Geesh, come on, remember that. You can't bring it in the locker room. You know what's funny about Steve Kerr talking on banning guns? He never has an actual solution. He just says, ban guns. Oh, they're bad. Oh, oof. Yeah. And then we ask, well, how do we ban guns, Steve Kerr? Oh, you got to vote Democrat. You got to vote Democrat. I have a question for you, Steve Kerr. Illinois has the strictest gun laws, right? Strictest gun laws in the country. Why are there shootings in Chicago every weekend? Huh? Do you have an answer for me, Steve Kerr? Oh, I do. Maybe it's because you Democrats defunded the police and have no cash bail laws to put criminals right back on the streets after they commit crimes. You want solutions on gun control to stop school shootings, Steve Kerr? Here you go. This is just some thoughts. Number one, every school has police officers for protection. They are roaming the schools, protecting the school. Number two, every school has a buzz-in system with automatic locked doors, and the person who is buzzed in has to be checked in by a cop. Number three, hire teachers who will pay attention to disturbed children and who will bring that up to the officers if there are any. The officers will then look online to see if that child has been posting any unusual or violent posts. Then they will keep an eye on them and potentially have a meeting with the family to discuss this risk. I'm not a professional Steve Kerr like you are supposed to be on this matter, but at least I'm giving solutions. So considering that the NBA pushes leftist ideology, focuses more on activism rather than the game of basketball, 75% of their viewership is overseas, including hundreds of millions of viewers from China, and they would rather make billions of dollars from the Chinese Communist Party through forced labor who barely get paid anything in order to make LeBron James sneakers and jerseys, I believe it is safe to say that the NBA is a leftist propaganda tool created by the Chinese Communist Party. The CCP owns the NBA and is telling the players and coaches everything they want them to do. They own the NBA and its players because they bought them. And because of that, the NBA and its players have to pay the CCP back by giving them exactly what they want. And what does the Chinese Communist Party want most of all? It's for the United States to be destroyed. The NBA is not in an American association anymore. It's the Chinese Communist Parties. And the best thing we can do when these communists of the NBA try to convince us on how the world works is say, shut the fuck up and just dribble the damn basketball.